Hi, my name is James Donaldson and I'm the manager and curator here at the Milns Antiquities Museum at the University of Queensland. Today I'm going to be talking to you about this tiny little lamp here that we got into the collection in 1986. It's made of terracotta and it's an oil lamp. You would have put olive oil or any kind of oil or fat inside, put a little wick in these two little holes here, light it, and it would give you the light of a couple of candles usually. It's been made pretty quickly. On the bottom here we can see some little spirals, and this shows that it's been taken very quickly by the potter off a mound of clay, and then it's been formed very quickly on the wheel, pinched around the spouts here to create these two little spouts, which are very typical of this kind of lamp, and then it's been fired in a kiln to produce this really common type of ancient lamp. Now, this lamp is Phoenician. The Phoenicians were a group of maritime traders from the area of Phoenicia in the Levant, and they spread very rapidly across the entirety of the Mediterranean and up into the Black Sea in the first millennium BC. This particular piece dates to the 4th to 3rd centuries BC, and it comes from the island of Malta. Now, of course, the Phoenicians were all over the Mediterranean, and the Carthaginians, the Punic people from North Africa, trace their descent to the Phoenicians as well, and they were the great enemies of Rome. Now, the story of this lamp is quite interesting. We can talk a lot about the technology used to make it, the wheel and the hand forming and the firing, and then the use as a lamp. But if we look on the back again, we can also see some of the modern history, and it has an interesting story to tell. We've got 3 different labels. We've got a white label here, which is the Antiquities Museum's number. It says 86.006, which means it was the 6th artifact that we acquired in 1986. It's got a little number here in black, which says 252, and then it's got this label here, which is very worn and being eaten by some sort of creature in the past. The 252 label is an old collecting label from the 1960s or so, because we know from when we bought this that it came from the collection of a gentleman called Richard Hattad. Richard Hattad is most well known for his collection and work on ancient brooches called fibulae, which he did a lot of great work on. But Richard Hattad got this from somewhere else, and this worn label tells us a little bit about this. Not very easy to read. The first line we can see the first 3 or 4 letters of Phoenician or Phoenicia, and then we can see that it was found somewhere, but then the rest of the line is broken. And a lot of the other lines here are pretty broken down. There's some names, there's some dates, very tantalizing. So it took a little bit of extra research to tell the full story of this. It turns out that this little lamp was collected by a soldier in the 1860s and the 1870s. His name was Major Terry, what a name, and he was with the 87th Royal Irish Fusiliers, who were stationed on Malta during this period. Of course, it was a British protectorate on Malta during this time. He collected this, brought it back to London, and his collection was sold in 1898. Passed through the hands of a couple of other collections, including, and that's why it's got this lovely label on the top of it, the collection of Sir Augustus Pitt Rivers. That is the Pitt Rivers of the famous Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford. And I've actually found this exact lamp illustrated in a beautiful watercolour in the digitised collections of the Pitt Rivers Museum. Now, the Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford has never sold any of their pieces. This is from Pitt Rivers' second collection, which was at a place called Farnham in Dorset. And what he did is he would put a little label on the back that told a little bit of the story about where he got it from and when. It says that he got it from Lawrence, who he got a lot of material from in the 1890s, and that Lawrence had it from the Terry collection. So it tells us a bit of the story. From there then, it passes through to the Richard Hattad collection, and then we purchased it in 1986, and it made its way all the way over here to Brisbane in Australia. So from 2,000 years ago on Malta, through various collections, first rediscovered in the 1860s or 1870s, over 100 years ago, then down to Brisbane, Australia today. This lamp has a really interesting story to tell. We use the collection here at the Antiquities Museum in teaching, for exhibitions and for research, and we look forward to welcoming you back to the museum soon.